Hey guys, I want to apologize. It's been a while since I've made a video. I actually had a few folks checking in on me, making sure everything's okay, and rest assured everything's okay. Just been real busy with life. Work's been a little more hectic than usual. My 7-year-old, she always takes up quite a bit of time. Not that it's a bad thing, but you know how that can be if you have kids. And just summertime vacations and such. And those of you that watched my last video where I made the 100-mile-an-hour attempt in the Traxxas Bandit know this was also a really big problem and put me out of commission. So I did say it was going to be a little while before I get another video out, and I'm getting close. I have a little bit of time right now where my daughter's off playing with a friend, and what I'm going to do is, instead of using another Velineon ESC, at least not for now, down the road I may well get another one of these and do some more testing and just see if I can edge it to 100 miles an hour. But I want to give a huge thank you to Paul over at REIT Place, Right Place. I apologize, I'm terrible pronouncing things, but REIT Place, for sending me out this Hobbywing 120 amp ESC. I've had several Hobbywing ESCs in the past and they've worked well. However, they were all the 60 amp kind, and but I do have a programming card, so I thought this could be an excellent choice. I emailed Hobbywing and they claim that this ESC will be better in my Bandit than the Velineon ESC for speed runs. Will it actually? I don't really know. The Velineon ESC is rated at 200 amps continuous, which is quite high. The Hobbywing is rated at only 120. However, I suspect they're using a different measuring criteria because the Velineon ESC is only rated at 320 amps burst, whereas the Hobbywing 120 amp ESC is rated at well over 700 amps burst. And I think the speed runs I'm doing be classified more as burst than continuous. So it's hard to say, but these are really inexpensive. This one is, I want to say it's about $45 from A-Main. And again, I have the programming card, so I'll be able to do a lot more tuning with it than I can with the Velineon ESC. Not that it has that much you could do to it, but I can adjust the punch, I can adjust the braking. And there's a few things like that that may help me with my speed runs a little bit. So I thought this would be a great ESC to try. I haven't seen anywhere on YouTube where someone's really done a good comparison between these two. And you know how I do things on my channel. I'm gonna push this thing hard. Maybe this will get the Bandit over 100 miles an hour. And those of you that already have the Velineon system in your Traxxas product, maybe this wouldn't be something you'd want to go out and purchase because it's probably not a huge upgrade, if at all, over the Velineon ESC. But those of you that have the XL5, or those of you that are just looking for a cheap ESC that may be able to get you where you want to be for 3S speed runs, this one may be the ticket. Now this is version 1. Version 2 just came out recently, and it has some improvements. I don't remember what they are, but it definitely had some improvements. But one thing that I thought was a disadvantage to V2, and why I wanted V1, is V2 forces you to use 4mm bullets coming out of the ESC here. And I've been running 6.5mm bullets. This originally came with 3.5, but I modified it to 6.5. And I picked up a few miles an hour by doing so, as those 3.5mm bullets were causing some resistance. So I'm gonna go ahead and solder this up with some 6.5mm bullets on the motor side, and then going from the ESC to the battery, I'm gonna be running 8mm bullets again. One other thing I wanna mention is that this Traxxas ESC is pretty beefy. It's pretty tall, and I looked online before deciding on the Hobbywing ESC, and it is not only smaller, well, it's smaller in all dimensions, but the critical one in the Bandit's the height. So this one's not quite as tall. I had a tough time fitting this in the Bandit along with a taller 3S battery that you need to maximize the speed in the Bandit. Link in the video description on how I modified my Bandit to fit this ESC with a fan and with the taller 3S batteries. You'll definitely want to look at that if you're trying to do speed runs in the Bandit with the stock ESC. But this is several millimeters shorter, so it should be a good fit even with the adhesive tape under it that I'm going to have to place. The Velineon ESC actually bolts right into the ESC plate, where this will have to sit on top of it with some adhesive. Even still, I think this is going to fit better. It's smaller on top as well. The Bandit body's really narrow up top. So I'm kind of excited to get this in the car and run it. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting the car back together, solder this thing up, and I hope to get on the road in the next week or two and do some more speed runs. Wish me luck. So yeah, I still had the Bandit all tore apart from my last run, and I had to take things apart, clean them a bit. The shock tower almost was ruined. It's salvageable, but it stinks a little bit. I cleaned everything. I soaked the shock tower and the body in Dawn dishwashing detergent in some hot water to help get rid of the terrible electrical fire smell. The body's, it's fine. I mean, it was already kind of beat up, and down the road I can always get a new one. This is fine though for continuing to do speed runs. Mainly the obvious damages inside, and there's some bubbling and such, but it's a good speed run body still. And my Gorilla Tape has really helped me not tear up the top of this, along with, well, you can't see it right now, here it is, the metal wire here on the shock tower is kind of my rollover protection, keeping the body from getting shredded too bad. So, as I said, I need to solder on connectors that used to be on this Velineon ESC onto my Hobbywing, mount it, get the car back together, and we'll see how it goes. Again, huge thank you to Paul for sending me this thing out. You know, he's just really generous, really nice guy, great channel, so please go check out his channel. And it's growing quickly. I think he's gonna exceed my subscribers here probably in the next few weeks. He puts out a ton of content, and I was shocked that he went ahead and was so generous to send me this out for the channel. But he was interested in the Bandit and wanted to see it continue to run, and he knew that you know, funds for my channel are a little tight right now. We're getting a new roof and such, so can't say how much I appreciate that and how nice it was for Paul to send this ESC out to me. Oh, and one other thing. I mentioned this in a previous video, but I have a brand new Velineon 3500 motor to run in this car. I got it right before the ESC went up in flames, and I was going to do some more running with this and continue where I left off. I had gotten the Bandit up to 88 miles an hour on the stock motor. Then I had another run that was probably 92 to 93 miles an hour, but it was one of the very few times my GPS was not reading, so I can't quite claim that I got it over 90 miles an hour, and I hope to get it close to 95 miles an hour. And of course, I still have the XTeam motor here. This is the one that's brought me up to 98.7 miles an hour on 3S. It's a 3660, 4650 kilovolt motor, and I'm running, at least recently, I've been running this very aggressive gearing, the Saga 37 tooth, 32 pitch pinion gear, along with the Kimbrough 32 pitch, 44 tooth spur gear. So stupid tall and gearing that I'm running in here, trying to get it to 100 miles an hour, which really is a torture test on the motor and the ESC, of course. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and try to salvage these connectors and get things soldered up again. starting to come together nicely. All right, here we go. The car is put back together and I think it's ready for a run. It's kind of hot here this time of year, and I don't know if I'll be able to do 3S runs until it cools down a bit, but I'll absolutely do some 2S runs. So it's mostly put back together. The wires are a bit longer than I would like, but I left the ESC wires a little longer than the Traxxas wires because the stock Velineon ESC has really short wires, and that can be a problem. I shortened these up a bit as well, but they should be plenty long to reach my batteries. And I mounted the capacitors here, just figured out it was okay, and the power switch is over here. And then of course the ESC cable that runs to the receiver goes into the receiver box there. So there we go. I think it's about ready to go. I'll probably just run it as is on 2S. No need to worry about the punch, but with 3S, I'll probably go ahead and reprogram this Hobbywing ESC to get the punch turned down a little bit and let her rip. So wish me luck. Hopefully I'll do a speed run in the next week or two. Just need good weather and a little bit of time, and we'll see how this compares to the Velineon ESC. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.